Welcome to our iSpring webinar series where we discuss e-learning trends, share tips and tricks, and highlight client success stories. My name is Kate. I'm a community manager at iSpring and your moderator for today's session. And today is our first webinar after the holidays. I hope you had an amazing time off, and thank you for coming today. And today we will discuss why hard skills alone aren't enough and which soft skills matter most for landing dream projects and building long term relationships with clients and many, many more. So, yeah, let's start. And first of all, let me introduce you to our valuable guest, Holly Owens. So, Holly is a seasoned educator, instructional technologist, and podcast host committed to designing impactful learning experiences. She has over 18 years of experience in education in various roles, and today she will share her experience with you. So, please welcome Holly. Holly, hi, how are you doing?
Hi, Kate. I'm great. How are you?
Yeah, I'm feeling great too, and I can't wait to get started.
Me too.
Yeah,
Let me share my screen. Hello, everybody. I'm so excited to be here. Can everyone see my screen okay?
yeah, it's perfect.
Great. Awesome. Love it when a plan works out. All right, so welcome everyone to the top skills to stand out in instructional design. I'm so glad you're here and I'm really excited to present on this topic. We've been doing, this is our fifth webinar of the six webinar series that we've been doing surrounding instructional design with iSpring. And we've had a lot of attendance and great participation. So I'm looking forward to hearing what you have to say about this one and also sharing some great resources with you. So, as you know, as instructional designers, we play a huge role in creating engaging and effective learning experiences. So, in this presentation, I'm going to explore the top skills that can help us stand out in the field and how we can use these soft skills to become more valuable assets in our teams and organizations. But before I jump into the full presentation, I have a couple of polls that I want to share. So Kate, let's see. Can we share the one about, yeah, what is your current role? So I'd like to see what your current role is. We got some teachers, we got some facilitators, instructional designers, course creators, L&D specialist, HR. Fantastic. I see the majority are coming from the instructional design course creator world, which is amazing. This is a great webinar for you. All right. So how long have you been working in this industry? Have you been working less than a year, 1 to 3 years, more than 3 years? More than 3 years is getting the top right now. Less than a year, we have some newbies in the room. And 1 to 3 years. Great. I'm so glad there's like a diverse array of people in the webinar. Fantastic. Fantastic. All right, let's say we jump into stuff. Let's start talking. Um, one of the things I want to say before I jump into this introduction, when it comes to, if you have questions, just type them in the chat, like Kate said, and then we'll answer those when we get to the end. This is a very informational webinar, but I also have some valuable resources for you at the end that we will also be sharing, so that you can go back and look at this presentation along with those resources. So when I started thinking about what are some of the top skills that instructional soft skills, we're talking about different soft skills that instructional designers need, not necessarily those hard skills. What are the top 5 ones? I came up with 5. So effective communication skills is one of them. And this is essential for us for collaborating with subject matter experts and the key stakeholders throughout the process. I feel like as instructional designers, we have to be so on our game when it comes to communicating with people and giving them updates about projects, what's happening, maybe developing them in terms of what has to happen um, to get their support if we need content. So communication throughout the entire process is very important and is like a top soft skill you need. Um, Also, too, through that communication, I'm going to talk a little bit about listening actively and asking lots of questions. Really important to ask this means lots of questions, especially say in an intake call, so that you can get all the details of the project from the start of things, so that you don't feel like you're confused about things as you work through the project. Um, so by honoring these like communication things, we can foster productive partnerships, navigate like all the complex organizational dynamics, the politics within our organizations, and then ensure that we are fully addressing what they need. That is the bottom line here. We're working towards what learners need. So communication really lays the foundation for creating learning solutions that truly engage and inspire. Then there's adaptability. So we have to change what we do oftentimes based off of priorities of what the learner's needs are. So you have to really be the type of person where you are okay with things not being set in stone. Um, so we want to make sure that we are adaptable to different types of environments. We're adaptable to the change, and we're not causing, like, oh my gosh, I'm just so upset that this change happens. Being an instructional designer is really about the adaptability and being okay with change. We're also problem solvers. So we need to be able to identify where there's gaps and stuff. We need to help people and support them to resolve any challenges within a project. So we do a lot in terms of problem solving and come up with ideas. And that leads me to creativity. So we really need to be innovative thinkers. Lots of us are former educators. We've done things surrounding technology use and training people, so we need to be able to design very engaging and impactful learning experiences. And then beyond doing all that, time management. I can't stress enough how important it is to be a good time manager. When you're managing so many projects at once as an instructional designer, it can become very overwhelming. One of the things I like to do is I use Pomodoro technique. If you're not familiar with that, you can Google search it. I do 25-minute spurts of projects, and I kind of plan my days out based off of that. So that's one thing I do in terms of project time management and project management. So these are the 5 ones I'd like to focus on for this presentation. All right. So, as instructional designers, it's very important that we have this set of soft skills along with the hard skills, and we're better equipped to create learning solutions that are truly engaged and inspire learners. So, instructional designers, I always say we're the people of all trades. We do project management, we design stuff, we're graphic designers, we're creative people, we're teachers, we're trainers. So, we have a lot of different skills in the field that really make us set us apart from other positions. So what are soft skills exactly? So let's talk a little bit about, like, if you've never heard the term soft skills or you've heard the term hard skills, what are the differences between those? So soft skills can be broadly divided into these 4 categories. So the first type is people skills. This is basically where you're interacting with others, you're understanding others, you're communicating, you're showing empathy for where they're at with certain things, and you're thinking about conflict resolution if that's the case, because sometimes we do have to work with difficult situations when it comes to instructional design. Maybe we're not getting the content we need or not getting our questions answered. And then the social skills. So really be able to act professional and appropriate in social situations. We have to network, we have to build relationships, really presenting ourselves in a way that we're leaders in this space. So it's important that we have those social skills, the interpersonal skills, and I'm sure everybody has heard a lot about these things like active listening, emotional intelligence, and working on a team. we can't do the other ones without these. So we definitely need to be able to listen to other teammates, even though at times there's things like, oh, we need to say this. A lot of the times as humans, we are, and I've read a lot of different research about this, we are thinking about what we're going to say in response to the person who's talking instead of absorbing what they're saying and then responding. So that's part of active listening. And then, of course, we have transferable skills. So we can apply different skills that can work across different roles like problem solving, critical thinking, adaptability in terms of, shifting projects or just maybe serving as a leader on a team or owning a project. So these soft skills are essential for success in any career, as they complement technical skills and help individuals really navigate the professional landscape effectively. So they kind of fall into these four general categories as far as soft skills are concerned. All right, let's talk about communication. We all love communication. We have friendships, we have relationships, and communication is probably one of the number one things that people say they want more of, and they want more effective, more impactful communication. So when you're thinking about communication skills, it's so important that you are able to communicate with all different types of people. You're able to adapt to complex notions, coordinate project goals, build those collaborations, build those relationships with stakeholders, the specialists, the learners, whoever that you're interacting with. Um, and really taking on like mastering these communication abilities and really understanding your approach into different audiences that you will be working with, because it could be SMEs, it could be leadership, it could be directly with learners, it could be with your other teammates. So you have to have essential communication skills and be able to communicate with those different audiences. Now, if you take a look at the chart that I pulled from Indeed and the career guide, they put communication skills, and they've done research on this as well, under four different areas. So there's verbal, which is obviously, the active listening piece, the um, speaking confidently, like I'm talking to you right now. Like this is verbal communication. You're having those synchronous conversations with people. Then there's nonverbal, so the body language. Like I'm moving my hands a lot right now because that's what I do during presentations. Being intentional about your communication. If something, you can always tell if somebody has a certain reaction if something's going well. Um, and or if it's not going well. So you really want to think about like how your body language is. I learned something back in a long time ago when I was a teacher. When you're standing up and you're talking to somebody, if you're crossed armed, that means you're closed off in terms of communication. I know for some people that's like a comfortable stance, but you have your hands out. That means you're open for communication and you're open to ideas, that kind of stuff. I learned that through a training that I did. That's always gone with me. Then there's visual. So you are really considering your audience. Like in instructional design, their visual is like a main point to what we're doing. Like if the learning isn't visually pleasing or engaging, like people aren't going to engage in it if it's just full of text. Making it clear to understand. This dives into accessibility stuff that we do. And then written. I think the main ones that I normally do as an instructional designer, it's visual, verbal, and written. Nonverbal happens if we have some in-person conversations, if you're not working in a remote position, but the three ones are the written, the verbal, and the visual. So it's really difficult sometimes, as you know, to communicate through email, to communicate through text message, just making sure we're sending clear messages and we're not miscommunicating. We're sending like a certain tone. Through that. And really, AI can help with that now. So, kind of setting the tone or getting your ideas down into what you want to write and helping you write the email, but also allowing yourself to put in your own information or your own voice when it comes to AI. So, I often have AI just write some emails for me or templates that I can modify and use in certain situations, because templates to me really makes things really easy to use and you're quick on the email as well. So just remember four types: verbal, nonverbal, visual, and written. And this applies across the board to like whether you're in design and developing something for the visual stuff, or if you're sharing out like graphics and data, that is across the board in all that we do as instructional designers. I did see a question in the chat. Is ever communication a determinant when you feel like communication is failing? It really depends on the culture of the institution or organization that you're working at. Sending emails and not getting answers is really kind of not is kind of pointless. Maybe working with the manager or the leadership to let them know that this communication is not happening and this is a barrier, because as instructional designers, we can only do so much. And as humans, we can only do so much. We can't control what other people do. So I would say document your process and what you have done so that you can take that to leadership, or you can take that to who's owning the project and let them know what's happening. Otherwise, like it's not your fault. It's really not your fault if people aren't answering, or people aren't working with you to complete the project. So I would say communicate what you need to communicate, and then if you're not getting the answers, take that to leadership. That's a good question. This is one of my all-time favorite soft skills as an instructional designer. I can't stress enough how important it is to be a human and be empathetic in the needs of other people, because people are going through stuff outside of what we're doing at work. People are going through stuff at work. So please take this one with very much consideration as one of your top ones if this is something that you need to work on. So empathy really, as an instructional designer, I use this in my life, and I've always been empathetic to others, and when I'm doing intake calls and trying to understand the process. Empathy really allows us to design meaningful and inclusive learning experiences that cater to diverse learners and the needs. If we use empathy, we can identify and address a wide range of challenges. I feel like this really does help us develop those relationships we need in order for the project or putting together the course to be successful. And also, too, empathy and accessibility. So, designing things that accommodate varying abilities and learning preferences, and just making sure that we are doing our due diligence when it comes to that as instructional designers. Oftentimes, and I could probably do a whole webinar on this, people are reactive when it comes to accessibility or making things um, easy for people to use. We want to be very proactive about that. So, like I said, empathy can create learning experiences that are welcoming, accessible, tailored to those individual strengths. And it really, really does enable us to design personalized learning pathways that acknowledge each of the learner's unique circumstances, their learning preferences, their goals. Um, and I think empathy is a big one too for building trust and fostering that collaborative learning environment that promotes and engaged success. So, you know, we might come into a call or we might come into a conversation where we're like, you know, I just, yeah, 100% Amy. Teachers have this. It's like built into us. It's innate. So we might come into a call and we're just like, we're so frustrated with this meeting. We're frustrated with one of the stakeholders because they didn't send us the content that we needed. But if you sit down for a minute, you kind of just think about what's going on in the organization or the company, or even what might be going on. You might not necessarily know their personal life. They may be going through something. If you just approach it in that situation, it really takes you take the power back, is what I'm saying. Like, you are not responsible for what other people do. You can only be responsible for you. So if you're doing this and you're trying to understand other people's situations and you're going through the project and things not be going well, you're not the only one responsible, and not taking full ownership of if things fail. And leading with empathy really does create a safe space for people, in a very trusting environment. So I 100%, this is like my top soft skill that I think instructional designers need to have and should have. Because if you come into a conversation, you're ready to go, like the fires are lit and you're just gonna tear people apart, it's not going to go very well. So you really have to be strategic in your approach and understand where people are coming from. Problem solving. Oh my goodness. working at Previously working at Amazon and now working at an ed tech company, you have to be able to solve problems. There are problems that happen daily. There are problems that happen like, you know, I see a lot of sayings like I'm putting all these fires out. So after you've gotten the empathy part down, um, you really need to be able to solve problems. So that could be through data driven decisions. You really want to look at this from a learner centric lens where we're developing solutions that meet the needs of the diverse learners that we have out in our community. So, like, there might be a time when you have to embrace some unconventional strategies, or you might have to look at different perspectives, again, showing that empathy and then being creative to solving those complex problems. I feel like people in the company, and for those of you who are instructional designers, we often get pulled into conversations that might not be instructional design related because we are problem solvers and we're able to see the bigger picture, backward design, keeping the end in mind. So we often get pulled into those conversations and we become like leaders at the organization because of this. So also too, we're good at analyzing and evaluating solutions, making sure that they align with learners' needs or the organizational's needs. So, like I said, often get pulled into those conversations about solving this problem. You know, and one of the things in a book I read, Map It by Kathy Moore, it's like, does this need to be a training? Does this need to be a training? So we could solve a problem without training. Oftentimes people will come into our ticket queue and they're like, I want to develop a training for this, but maybe it's a job aid, maybe it's something else. So really helping the SMEs or stakeholders kind of figure out like what they really need, because everybody's answer is that if if employees aren't doing this, it needs to be a training. That's not necessarily the case. When you think about pedagogy, andragogy, that might not be what they need. They might need something else, another resource, or they might need some one-on-one attention. So having those conversations and offering solutions to problems is really going to again help with that trust. And if we need to pivot or adjust in the face of like change, we have to be able, like, all these flow together: adaptability, problem solving, communication, empathy. And we really have to be able to stay ahead of like industry trends, embracing new technologies, because people look to us to deliver those optimal learning experiences. We're the technical expert, but we're also the ones that can tell you how it's going to impact learners, and sometimes pull that out of the data as well. We can put that into hard data and show how this is impacting learners. Other times it may be a more holistic view when it comes to like surveys and things like that. All right, and I just mentioned adaptability. So I can't stress enough that I think one of the things when I was a younger instructional designer, I just wanted a process, and I'm still a very process oriented person. I just wanted a process. I just wanted us to follow it, and I just wanted to check the stuff off of the list. So I had to learn to be more adaptable to these changes, especially when I worked at a company like Amazon Pharmacy, where things were constantly pivoting daily and the needs of our customers were changing. So, really being able to adapt, pivot, and adjust, that openness to change, not being closed off to like new technologies, and definitely transitioning teachers and former teachers and instructional designers have this, um, is we're open to anything. Like, we will try something new in terms of what's happening in the market. Like I said, embracing those new technologies. So again, we need to harness the innovative ideas and unconventional approaches to problem solving, and this will cultivate a culture of agility and resilience. I really feel like these things help your organization or help your department in instructional design become self sufficient. So the efficacy improves if you're implementing some of these soft skills that I'm talking about today. All right, let's see. All right. All right. So when you're talking about, let's just say, as we're talking about these soft skills, and we're thinking about it in terms of instructional design. So definitely adaptability is something that is absolutely important. It's critical for staying ahead in this rapidly evolving landscape that we have in instructional design. Um, so you're identifying the necessary skills that match, like, what soft skills do you need in your organization? So, like, what do people need to be able to do? And of course, me sharing these five is probably what your organization needs moving forward. Um, and performing the necessary pre-work. So as instructional designers, we have to think about, like, how are we going to do our work? What are the things that we need to do our work? Again, that problem solving aspect. So what technologies are we going to use? What types of support do we need? If maybe we need some mentorship, maybe we need access to certain materials. So thinking about, like, what you need to do and the methodologies you need to bring in, and or the support and professional development in order for your team to be successful. And then you go in, you start creating the courses. And I would definitely recommend, checking out iSpring. This is the iSpring webinar. So using their learning management system, their authoring tool, to really come up with engaging learning experiences. And I have an example I'm going to share with you. So what is going to be best for the learner? And then putting that into a learning management system, deploying it out for the learner, getting that feedback too, and encouraging, like, the continuous feedback loop, and also to, like, developing soft skills. Like, this probably needs to be a training at your place. So people have awareness of soft skills, but they really don't understand what it all means. So you might need to develop a soft skills training for people in order for them to get on board with this, like, continuous learning environment, and hopefully this will lead to designing effective online learning experiences and then driving that organizational success. So you're going to see this in maybe the revenue generation, in maybe the um and maybe people feeling more connected to your organization. Like, they really feel like the sense of empathy around is really invigorating, in terms of, like, they feel comfortable and they feel safe there to do their work. So this could have a great impact on your organization and how people feel about it. Again, just reiterating the importance of soft skills, like communication, collaboration. It should be like this. I should come up with a mnemonic device here about using these different things. And I can't stress enough how much these things will improve your relationships within your organization. And you can definitely take this information from this presentation and put it into a training for other people. If this is just something simple you want to start out with, you can say, I went to a presentation and here are the top 5 skills that I learned, that top 5 soft skills that need to be used at our organization. And it's not just strictly for instructional designers. Like I've said, provided some examples about where it impacts the instructional design process, but this needs to happen at every organization and every institution. And if you know what it feels like. So think about a time where um, you were in a situation where you necessarily didn't like your role at the organization. They were probably missing one of these trainings or one of these soft skills. Like, maybe there wasn't collaboration, people were working in silos. Maybe there wasn't adaptability, people were, working in higher education for about 10 years. I have faculty who were very resistant to change when it came to technology use, and really trying to focus their attention on what the learners' needs were. So something's probably missing there. So continuously thinking about how you can implement these soft skills is only going to make things better. All right, some resources for you. I'm going to open up one. I'm going to put this link into the chat. This is a course, and this is from an article out on iSpring's website. You see the soft skills article. I'll also put the link in the chat for that. And share these with you. Um, So one of the things I want to say about this particular training is navigating phone conversations. I know we don't think we talk on the phone a lot, but we do. So this is a good training example where iSpring has set up an e-learning. Let me share the training. Put that up here. Share this tab. All right. So it's basically how do you talk to people on the phone? Again, soft skills, communication. Um, and this is just an example. And it has scenario based stuff that you can incorporate. I think it's so important that when you're thinking about your e-learning that you do stuff that's real world related, because that's how long is the video valid for? Which video? This one? Or like the link? So this link is public. This is public out on this article that I shared. So you can go through and you can see this. It's public. All right. And I do encourage you to go out and read that article that Helen and James wrote. It's very good. It's a longer article, but it does go into some more soft skills, when it comes to the workplace, and it does relate it back to instructional design. So I would definitely put that in your bookmarks page. Let me go to the next because I have more resources. All right. So the other one I found recently that I think is another good one, and this doesn't necessarily talk just about soft skills. This is Devlin Peck wrote the top 15 instructional design skills you need in 2025. So he goes through and he highlights 25 skills and gives you some data when it comes to like what people are looking for, um, you know, in terms of e-learning development. Here's a soft skill, communication skills. So this is definitely something to consult if you're thinking about jumping into the field of instructional design, or you're an instructional designer and you're like, I might need to upskill on, learning management systems, or I might need to, check out adult learning theory again, kind of refresh myself. So I think it's a pretty good list for that. And then of course, oops, go back. I have created, and I consistently, and I'll put this link in the chat too. Let me go to, this is my instructional design resources page. So it's curated resources for people who are transitioning into instructional design. And this has soft skill stuff, but it also has people to follow. It has things that you should be doing. It has resources. It has podcasts you should listen to. It has books you should purchase. And one of the things I will say, just like with starting out with soft skills and kind of learning about those and what those are and areas where you need to improve, everybody starts somewhere. And this is a great resource for you when you're first starting out and trying to figure things out. I think that going through that e-learning just to see what you can develop in iSpring, reading that article, talking and looking through the top 15 skills that Devlin has done research on for what instructional designers need, and then looking at this resources list. Oh yeah, I'll share Devlin's link as well. I'll do that right now. And of course, these will all be shared via email once the presentation is over. And there's also a link if you want to explore iSpring Suite. In terms of developing these trainings, please click on that download for a 14-day free trial so that you can go into it. And if you have questions, let us know and start designing your trainings at your institutions or organizations. It's very easy to do in iSpring. Let me share. Here's another example of a great course that was developed in iSpring, where it's talking about identifying the client's needs. So doing kind of that needs analysis that you need to do as an instructional designer. So definitely go check out these resources and also maybe talk with your leadership, or if you are leadership, thinking about developing a soft skills training at your institution or organization. I think that's all. Let me share, go back to my slides, make sure I shared everything. All right. Yeah, that's it. So thank you so much. I know that was a lot of me talking and not as as interactive as previous presentations, but the
Yeah,
identifying clients needs list is an example of an e-learning that was developed in iSpring.
yeah. Thank you so much, Holly. That was great. Yeah, I think we all got a lot of insights. I'm not an instructional designer, but I will definitely go look for some of the resources. And before we move on to the Q&A session, I want to ask you to fill out the survey about the webinar. I will share a link in the chat right now. There, it doesn't take a lot of time, just a couple of questions to let us know what we can improve. And one more announcement. Let me briefly share. So today we talked a lot about adaptability, all these new environments and all these new things. And I want to invite you to our upcoming online training, designed to help you speed up course offering without sacrificing quality and with new AI technologies. And it will be just 2 days, on 5th and 6th of February. Just 2 days of live sessions, hands-on practice. There will be some tasks and personalized feedback. And yeah, you can discover some new ways to keep your learners engaged and to simplify your work. And if you're interested, just head over to the link in the bottom left corner. I will share it right now. Okay. And now let's see if we have any questions from you all in the chat.
Yep. And I also want to follow up by saying that in middle of February we're going to do like a kind of follow up to this where we're going to be talking about having talking with SMEs and having difficult conversations with people and how to manage all those things, because we definitely have to interact with people sometimes that it doesn't necessarily go as planned. So we're going to follow up a bit and do a training on that in February.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for the announcement. But yeah, we will share a link a bit later. Yeah, we'll email the link too. Okay. So I don't see any other
Anybody
questions
have any
for
questions?
now. Okay. I see a question from Terence. What advice do you have when the SME or project sponsor doesn't really know what they want or are unclear in their ask?
Yeah, that's a great question, and we often deal with that when we go into intake calls. So what I would say to you is be the leader in the conversation, and really, if they provided you with some content, kind of give them options. As we used to have a suite of things that we could share with people, like a menu of like what we think were the best options. Um, so one of the things I would say is you have to be the leader in that conversation and kind of guide them as to what you think is best, because they don't understand. Most of the time the SNEs that we're working with don't understand learning and the learning process, and they definitely don't understand instructional design. So you have to be very clear about like, well, we could do this. These are your options here, and then allow them to kind of give their feedback about the options. Somebody said they didn't
Yeah,
see that.
thank you. Yeah, thank you, Holly.
What's your question, Kate?
Yeah, I was wondering, like not so long ago, we had a webinar about interview questions for instructional
Mhm.
designers and how to answer them and all of that. And usually, I think on every interview there is a question like, "What are your soft skills?" And we usually like write these soft skills in the CV. But I don't know. Maybe not all of the skills are like important for the particular like job role or something like like how do you say how to choose the soft skills that you need for the position or like for something?
Right. I think really a conversation about the soft skills comes out in when they're asking you interview questions and you're talking about situations in which you use those soft skills. So for example, like when people ask you, I know this question gets asked a lot, like how talk about a time where you had a challenge and how you overcame it. So you can definitely talk about empathy in that, communication, all those different things. So I really feel like that more or less comes out in the interview process. And like soft skills, everybody could write that on their resume. You won't know if somebody is like good at being empathetic or communication until they actually get in the role or they're actually interviewing with you. So having those examples, maybe take the five that I discussed and then have scenarios that you've been in those situations and this is where you use the soft skill.
Yeah, thank you. That's what I thought about too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because everybody can list all five of those in their resume.
Yeah,
So
yeah, that's usually happens.
yeah, like I have these, I'm very empathetic, but how do we know that, like a resume is such a static document? We don't know. You could be not empathetic. We have no idea.
Yeah.
Gary was asking where
Okay.
can we register for the rapid course creation with AI webinar?
Um yeah, I will drop a link in the chat again. So, yeah,
Any
you can.
advice? Let's see. Marcus has a question. Any advice on how to organize difficult conversations between multiple managers, context as admin for K to 12? Come with an agenda and come with talking points of things that you're going to go over and share that beforehand. Let them have the opportunity also to submit questions or things that they want to talk about. But I feel like as instructional designers or trainers or people who are leading conversations, we need to take on the role of like, this is what we're going to talk about. Like, we're going to steer the conversation instead of letting people take over the conversation. I think that's so important because those types of leaders with administration, they're going to come in there with their own agendas, their own bias. They're going to they want to talk about things that they want to talk about, but you can set the expectation for having this is what we're going to talk about today, and the overall goal, like related to an organizational goal or an institutional goal, like this is going to accomplish this. Oh, so do you have recommendations for building an IT toolkit in preparation for clients you don't have yet? For instance, how do you build templates for lessons, courses that you don't have a brief for? I would do free trials like the iSpring one and start building some stuff out that you can share via the links. And as far as toolkits are concerned, there's a lot of different ones that exist out there. So I would do your research and see what already exists and then kind of see how yours can offer something different or using the same formula that those people use to develop an ID toolkit. And maybe one of the areas that you have in there is soft skills, like talking about like what are the important soft skills. Like I would just also ask AI, like, build me out an ID toolkit and then pull from it what I think is going to be important. So definitely use your experiences and to get those people, get the buy-in from people if you're going to be freelancing.
Yeah, thank you for sharing your thoughts on this. And yeah, if you have any other questions, just write them in chat or put them in our feedback form that I've shared before.
Thanks, everyone.
Yeah, I think that was our last question. Um, yeah, for today. So, Holly, thank you
You're
again for
welcome.
sharing all these insights with us. And thank you, everyone, for being such an attentive audience. Yeah, I appreciate all your comments. Thank
Have a
you.
great
Thank you.
day.
Have a great day. And yeah, see you next time.